All right, let's kick this off. Hello and welcome to our State of Anyone Spaces, the first one in a few months. As always, it's our opportunity as a team to share progress on what we're working on, maybe introduce some new names. There will indeed be a new name today. And in general, lay out the vision that we're working tirelessly to accomplish for a much wider goal, which many of you are already aware of. So we're seeing some great numbers here already. I'm seeing over 350 viewers across X live stream and YouTube. So I think this is a good time to kick off, as always, with some opening words from Anon Morpho.
Good evening, good morning, anyone. I wish this was happening, obviously, on better market conditions and days, but that stuff is out of our control, and we can only do the best that we can do on any given day. As much as I think everyone was expecting some big all season. We have to remember that what we're building is not really market dependent. It's price agnostic. What we're building is something that's going to be around here for a long time. And although the price and ETH and all these things are suffering, we do have a lot of great stuff that we're going to share with you today. A lot of the tech that we've been working on is ready to come live. We've been working heads down this entire time, essentially working for free. So, we're basically, we have our runway to pay all the engineers and things for the longevity of the project. And that's what we'll continue to do, continue to work and deliver and build all this stuff out. And, we've been here before many times. This isn't a new project, almost 3 years now. So we know that there's going to be ups and downs, and, eventually we're going to bounce back. And when we bounce back, it's going to be harder than ever. So there's still plenty of catalysts left. The most important thing that we can do that costs people $0 and zero money is get people to download the apps. I've received lots of great feedback from you guys, and a lot of great feedback from even real friends of mine that are really enjoying what we built. So as we're all seeing cryptos moving towards a, app infrastructure business, a revenue business, and, if we're able to build this network, build these apps, the vision will come true, and we'll start earning mega revenue. And we're going to work on a new tokenomics design where that revenue not just goes to relay runners, but goes back to buying up anyone tokens on the chart. And we've seen how successful that's been with other protocols as well. So, we have to just keep moving forward, keep our heads up, and know that at the end of the day, we're going to come out on top, because that's the vision for anyone.
Thank you very much. The vision is clear as always. We're here to build something that provides a genuine value to the world. This is a network that is needed now more than ever. We're all very familiar with pieces of news about our privacy being impinged, not just necessarily by governments, but even by corporations. And I've spoken extensively on previous spaces about the rise of AI and the accompanying risks that come with it. So this part of the spaces is normally dedicated to a technical update, and indeed, there is a pretty big one coming as we talk through the staking dashboard and changes to testnet and the road to mainnet. But this space will be a little bit different. We'll actually be opening with a conversation with an individual who really represents that vision and has been building superbly in this space. I'm very, very thrilled to call on a new friend of ours, Seth for Privacy. I'm going to bring him onto the space. Seth, thank you very much for coming on relatively short notice.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm always thrilled to be able to chat about vital topics, and chatting through anything privacy related is always fun. Sounds like the market hasn't been too kind to y'all lately, but we all know those things come and go, but the freedom tech stays. So keep building that.
Absolutely, and you've given away what I'd say is just part of the surprise with your tag under. For those who don't know, Seth for privacy, and check him out under the same name on X. He's a big name in the privacy space, I'd like to say, is the VP of Cake Wallet, which is, at least I'd like to think, the most popular distribution of wallet for the Monero network. But Seth, if you'd like to introduce yourself in your own terms, I'd love to hear it.
Double muted. There we go. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So I've been in the space, in the crypto space, since about late 2017. My name is Seth for privacy. I did not always care for privacy, and actually the privacy rabbit hole happened a while after the crypto rabbit hole. Got into it just wanting to make money. Didn't have any idea of freedom tech or any care for open source or anything like that. But quickly fell down the rabbit hole because of Monero, actually. You mentioned that for Cake Wallet, but I just wanted to be able to mine it at home. Loved the idea of building a GPU rig. It was GPU mined back then. And the tech enthusiast part of me loved that. And thankfully just the community is the reason that kind of pushed me down the rabbit hole for why crypto matters, like why Monero was more important than just this thing that you could mine at home for fun, but that it could actually be an incredibly essential tool for freedom globally. But then also why broader personal privacy mattered, why it was important that people thought obviously about financial privacy, but that ultimately financial privacy is what I would view as the most important aspect of privacy, because that being eroded really destroys any other privacy that you do have, but not the only piece of privacy. Where if you have financial privacy, but you don't worry about anything else when it comes to personal privacy, it can work the opposite way, where a lot of your financial privacy can be undone if everything about you is known, even if they don't know your finances. So it's definitely one piece of the toolkit. And that kind of started this rabbit hole that led to me working in Bitcoin full time, starting about 3 years ago now. And then transitioning over to Cake Wallet as VP, basically running the day-to-day, running the business there for just over a year now. So yeah, really just wanted to find a way that I could to give back, to build freedom tech, to build things that actually empower the individual rather than empowering the state or empowering the corporation. And thankfully, there are a lot of different tools that do that. I've mostly focused on Bitcoin and Monero. But at Cake Wallet, we do have support for other cryptocurrencies as well, because we do want to make sure that people have access to the tools that they need for human freedom.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. We have had our own kind of interesting conversation about how we pitch different levels of privacy and anonymity to eventual users. Obviously, people who are using the Monero network and using Cake Wallet are kind of ahead of the curve in caring about privacy, and they're probably a prime candidate for technology just like this. But how do you kind of see the adoption of privacy for finance, privacy on chain, and maybe anonymity in general? Where do you think we are, and what are the next steps you think for actually pushing that privacy to a mainstream audience?
I think honestly, the demand for privacy in the crypto space, like on chain, I guess, is a way to describe it, but a lot of the privacy is actually now happening off chain or in layer twos that don't necessarily publish all data back to the main chain. So kind of just expanding it to crypto in general. I think the demand is really going through the roof. I mean, the more we see exchange hacks that leak KYC data, as well as where transactions were sent, as long as we see nation states cracking down on privacy tools, a lot of these things have a Streisand effect of sorts, where we see that people go, if I'm not supposed to do this for some reason, maybe this is actually something I need to think more deeply about. I think a good example of that lately is these insane age restriction laws that have been put in place throughout much of the EU, the UK specifically, where many people who had no idea what personal privacy was suddenly are now active VPN users. And I think very similar things have happened in the crypto space, where there's been multiple crackdowns and attacks against privacy tools like Tornado Cash on Ethereum or Samurai Wallet in Bitcoin. And those things really do galvanize people to start to think like, oh, like maybe this privacy stuff actually does matter. If that's the thing that nation states that theoretically crypto is taking power from, if they're really only worried about the privacy tools and the clear fraud, those being two separate things, maybe I should actually think deeply about this privacy stuff. And we've seen that. I mean, over the years, there's definitely been demand, but specifically like the insight that we have at Cake Wallet, which isn't much because we don't do logging, we have no analytics, nothing like that. But all we really know is just the amount of volume that our partners handle from the API keys that we have in Cake Wallet, and the demand for people accessing Monero has been insane and growing very rapidly, despite the market itself not really doing anything, really being quite stagnant or down over the last 6-8 months. Throughout that time, the demand for people to get Monero has only increased dramatically, like orders of magnitude. And I think that that's indicative of people understanding that, like, okay, I can use Bitcoin, I can use stable coins, they work right now, but someday I'm going to have something that actually has financial privacy and that doesn't require me to do a lot of extra steps to access that. And I think that demand is funneling into Monero right now. I know there's a lot of chatter about Zcash and other things still. But the kind of the boots on the ground, the forefront is Monero at the moment.
And do you think there is also a growing understanding of network level metadata, IP address leaking, and that also being an area of concern, let's say, for Monero users, Zcash users, or similar?
I think to run into people that really think about that and care about that, you do have to kind of get to the more those willing to take more drastic steps. I think when we realistically talk about like what privacy the average person wants, it's really easily achievable privacy that doesn't impact their user experience very much. There are good examples of that. I think PayJoin is a really good example in Bitcoin. I mean, Monero's privacy protocol, you don't do anything extra, so that's a good example as well. But getting down to like network level privacy, that's where a lot of the user experience trade-offs happen. And like that is something we focused on at Cake Wallet, Wave native Tor integration that we launched a few months ago. And we do see quite high demand for that, like just from user requests. But you're always going to have a clear downside to better network privacy. When you're funneling all of the wallet data or all of the app data through Tor, like you are going to have lower latency or higher latency. You're going to have lower download speeds. Like it's just going to be anything network related is going to be a little bit more finicky. Or if you're even going more advanced and using a mixnet like NIM or something like that, you'll have it'll take longer to propagate transactions to the network. Like there are downsides, and I think unfortunately most people aren't willing to deal with those downsides right now. But I think there's still a lot of novel things that can be done. Like one idea that we've been exploring is we've been talking to the folks at NIM VPN and at another mixnet called XX, where instead of tunneling all of your traffic through something like one of those or through a VPN or through Tor, instead we just use whatever your default network is. If your device is using a VPN, great. If it's not, that's okay. But for only the transaction propagation, which when you're doing anything in cryptocurrency, the most important network detail is, can your IP address be tied back to this transaction ID? And protecting that is separate really from, can your IP address be tied back to some sort of wallet sync? Both are important, but especially in something like Monero, the vastly more important is like, is this IP address responsible for this transaction ID? And using something like a mixnet, like NIM, like XX for only sending the transaction to whatever node you're using is a really powerful way to have like almost no user experience loss, but have greatly improved practical privacy guarantees. So I think there's a lot of work to be done there. But I think, again, kind of like I harped on before, just even people starting to like flocking to use good VPNs like Mullvad, Obscura, iVPN, Proton, people starting to use those and using those all the time, not just when they need to do something that they feel like they need to be careful about, but rather something they just turn on and forget about. That has really, really positive ramifications for their network level privacy when using crypto.
That makes a ton of sense, and it echoes the, I'd like to say, quite frank and useful conversation we had, where we take a real look at our network and see where we can pitch a solution like this, not just in the wallet and RPC space, but more broadly. I think you're absolutely spot on that the user experience as far as possible. I mean, it shouldn't not just be equal to or close to equal, indistinguishable from not using that solution. But ideally, it should be integrated in a way that they don't have to do very much at all to switch it on, to turn this privacy on. We also discussed, the ease of these integrations for developers as well. And for us, I think it's early days for our integrations. We're starting to see some of them in the Web3 space come in. And that's why it was very, very helpful speaking to you so we understand using our SDKs how we can optimize the network and create the setup where a solution like anyone can really add value in the space and become useful to users. So it was very helpful discussions we've had, and it sets some good targets for our network and for our SDK, especially as we look increasingly at mobile. I think mobile apps is, even in the crypto space, is sort of underutilized and under-resourced compared to things on a browser, but I think it's a huge opportunity to get to real people. So thank you for sharing that insight and sort of market overview as well with our audience.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for being here, Seth. I did promise you an eager community response to anyone. I think there's 888 live viewers right now, which is
awesome.
amazing to see. I'm sure they're very happy to see you and phoned up their friends and family when they saw your face here. If you have any last message or words for this audience, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the main thing I'd want to leave people with is just keep fighting the good fight. Like, I think there's been a lot of really positive developments in the space lately, especially when it comes to privacy. Like I said, really rapidly growing demand for tools and technologies that make privacy easy. That's maybe another thing to harp on is people are very willing and eager to do anything that improves their privacy that doesn't make their life much more difficult. And I think that's been a lesson that I've learned the hard way over the years is we can very easily focus too much on these really hardcore privacy approaches and get lost in the weeds of what can regular people actually stomach? Like, what can they actually use? And so building usable, beautiful, fun to use privacy tooling is something that really everybody wants. It's just not something that many teams have been able to accomplish. So being able to build something like that, building tools that have a clear product market fit, that are usable, that are user friendly, and yet that protect user privacy is really kind of the golden grail. That's what we continue to target at Cake Wallet. And I'm hopeful that y'all will be able to achieve something similar as well. But really, we need more privacy tech out there. The more, the merrier. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic. And I really appreciate your time coming here on short notice. Hope to remain in touch and keep building together.
For sure. Thank you all for having me on.
Thank you. That's thank you again to Seth for Privacy. Sorry. Please do give him a follow. You'll find him across the Web3 space and fingers in many pies within privacy. It was really superb. Speaking with him, it gave us some excellent targets and goals for our network that I think, having had these conversations, having looked inside into what developers want, what do teams value, it honestly makes us more excited than ever that we really can make a difference in the space and our tech can really fit a niche that can expand very quickly. So that was very, very exciting on the adoption front, and hopefully a little surprise for many of you watching. But on to, I think, the meat of the release. And for those obviously following our X page, you likely know we're now rounding into that final critical leg of our testnet. The dashboard and really the protocol behind it is now available on Sepolia. And it's a protocol that we have really rewritten from scratch. We have done a thorough security audit, not just for this rewards protocol, but for the overall infrastructure, for everything that supports this network that's going to become, increasingly valuable and probably increasingly under attack. And over a painstaking and thorough process by our engineers, we've gone and reworked the infrastructure to be truly as secure as it can be. And alongside it, brought in this very, very exciting staking mechanism. So for those who are checking out the dashboard at dashboard.anyone.io, you likely would have already seen it change and seen the shiny new interface. I'm very pleased to announce that the dashboard is now available for all operators to come in and begin claiming their relays and locking their relays. What we've decided to do, especially following the initial testnet launch around a year ago, is we're going to give all operators until the end of this week, until midnight at the end of the day, midnight UTC at the end of the day on Sunday, for people to lock their relays, claim their relays, claim their hardware relays. And this will essentially give everyone a fair chance so that there's not a massive scramble to get your testnet anyone tokens. Essentially, any relay rewards accrued in the next 3 or 4 days until that deadline will not count to your final airdrop. This gives everyone a fair chance to get their relays registered, get their virtual relays locked, and be prepared for a continuation of that testnet and continuation of earning real rewards. As before with the dashboard, it may look different, but hardware relays should be available to simply claim as shown here. And it's the same Sepolia Anyone contract as before. So for those of you who have already been operating relays, it should be relatively easy to go ahead and, if needed, relock and reclaim those nodes. You'll find actually for some nodes this may have already happened. We've migrated as far as possible some data from the previous iteration, but as of now, or as of right after this space, feel free to go on to dashboard.anyone.io and begin preparing for the continuation of the testnet, the continuation of rewards, and get your relays in order. But of course, no, there's not a massive rush, and your rewards immediately won't be affected. The other thing that I'd like to walk through a little bit, because I'm sure many operators are on this call, is some of the things that are actually different. So you may have seen some Medium articles or seen some screenshots already, but I'd like to walk through a little bit of this exciting staking mechanism and how we're actually rewarding community members for taking part. So let me share my screen now with the live demo portion. For operators here, you can see live on dashboard.anyone.io, we do have this new staking window, and within it, you can see every relay operator. In other words, anyone who's actively running relays, you'll see them listed here with the ability to select and stake to them. Note that when we do go on mainnet, when you stake to a relay family, and you can stake to your own family, they will receive 5% of your total staking yield. So in addition to you delegating and showing your trust for certain operators, actually participating in staking lets you reward the people you know, trust, and value in the community. The stake itself should be relatively intuitive. It's simply a matter of selecting them and clicking stake. One change that we made from the previous iteration of this dashboard is that there are now 2 different places where you can hold tokens that you can use. Obviously, you have tokens within your wallet, but you can also store them in the protocol smart contract. And this keeps all your tokens in one place. So for example, when you redeem your relay rewards or redeem your staking rewards, instead of going directly to your wallet, they now go into this contract to be recycled. You can use it to delegate, you can use it to stake again, you can use it to restake. And whenever you are in an action here, for example, to stake, it will first primarily use those tokens available in your contract. And if those are insufficient and your wallet can use it, it will then take tokens from your wallet. But something to be aware of that you may not necessarily be expecting with the dashboard. And really as simple as a singular transaction or a transfer to the staking contract, and you're away staking your testnet tokens to various operators. The other thing that may not be known by everyone here is that staking rewards do auto compound. So you don't need to continually redeem them and then restake them. Any additional staking rewards immediately to the operator that you've delegated to qualify for more rewards, so you can enjoy the benefits of compounding as well. Staking 15 tokens with operator, and then once that's complete, you'll see that reflected here. Another important point that was mentioned in the article, in this case, that's live demos for you. Another important point that's mentioned in the article is that the relay operator's family has to be, at least 50% of the nodes in the family need to be online at any given epoch for you to actually earn the staking reward. And this obviously encourages operators to keep their families healthy, encourages them to renounce any relays that are no longer running, and generally improves the health of the network. So these mechanisms all play into creating a healthier ecosystem and ensuring that people who are staking and delegating their trust are providing genuine value. So that's a brief introduction to the staking mechanisms and how they work. The important thing is the staking introduced now is still within testnet. And so the staking yield, because these testnet tokens are very easily acquirable, is not going to be directly airdropped to operators. Instead, we have created for this final leg of testing sort of a set of incentives for operators to encourage you to actually play around with these mechanisms. The first is that any active relay operator who also chooses to stake, and you can just stake one testnet token or more, it doesn't matter, will receive a 10% boost to their total relay rewards and the airdrops that they get. So to kind of celebrate this upgrade to the testnet, there are more rewards available to anyone who plays around with these mechanisms. And we also, at the point of every relay airdrop, will provide some bonus rewards, a small amount of tokens for the first 100 people to play around with different mechanisms. So whether it's acquiring an anyone unstoppable domain, whether it's going ahead and staking, whether it's going and delegating, if you play around with these mechanisms, every week there will be sort of new unknown features that you can test. And for those who actually go ahead and help us test, play around, use the features, there are additional rewards available for you that'll be airdropped weekly. So hopefully for operators, this represents a kind of continuation of the normal and a chance for us all to play around and use these important mechanisms before we make that swift transition to mainnet and bring in staking for your real tokens. So thank you for sitting through that. Hope that was clear. We'll have some articles and updates in the development channel for it. But to main takeaway here is if you are a relay operator, feel free to start registering and claiming your nodes now in preparation for rewards resuming. To take a short break from my voice and move on to someone a little more educated in the field of engineering, I'd like to call on Kanchi, our lead architect, who's redefining privacy and visuals with or pseudonymity, I could say, with his view. Kanchi, thank you very much. You've given me a mini heart attack with that Mickey Mouse face, but I love it. And I wanted to give you a chance to also address the community again after a few spaces and maybe talk through some of the work going on in the back end.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I wanted to share with you very briefly the story about the wild ride that we've been on while building this testnet for you. We're super thrilled, first of all, to release it. It's been a long journey, and some of you have complained, rightfully so. We're happy that we're all here. And let me tell you a little bit about the genuinely challenging problems that we had to address while trying to not compromise on our core principles, right? So decentralization, privacy, and censorship resistance. So first, we all remember we started with an ambitious but quite simple goal. Let's build a rewards protocol with an EVM interface that operates gasless on Arweave. For those unfamiliar, Arweave gives us the censorship-resistant permanent storage layer that we needed. But here's where it got interesting. We chose SmartWeave for decentralized state processing, But then we had to scale it to hundreds of thousands of transactions that we generated, you guys generated, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then while we were scaling that, also if you remember, initially we were incentivizing people running relays on Tor, but Tor project didn't really like it, so we had to get creative, and we rebuilt our entire network infrastructure, or their entire network infrastructure, using Tor software, essentially replicating the directory authorities, the bandit scanners, all of the tests, all of the additional software, and test it out, stabilize it, and get it operational globally. That was, let me tell you, one hell of a pivot, but it ultimately gave us more control over our destiny, and I think we're going to soon start to benefit much more as a community from those developments. And then SmartWeave got phased out, so we had to forcefully kind of migrate to AO, which is the Arweave's new state processing technology. The good news here is that it's generally a better technology, so it's easier to implement, easier to operate, but still we are yet to prove on its scale in our particular use case, and this is where we're relying on you guys to actually use that dashboard and help us generate the scale that we want to see this operate on before going to mainnet. So now we're currently running over 120 different software module instances. So it's not every single thing is different, but we have redundancy, and things are running in different places that are representing the same data set. But there's over 120 of those instances that we're synchronizing, and we just went through a full revamp to secure it all. We brought in some external reviewers. We implemented every recommendation they gave us, probably some more that we came up with ourselves. We've re-architected our EVM contracts from the ground up, adding features, as you heard from Neurotic. But here's the invite that I wanted to share with you guys. So the testnet is live. Come try it as a user, take it as a holder, but also for the security researchers among you, we'll be dropping a formal bug bounty program soon with specific targets and rewards. We've made an extensive effort in general to secure everything, infrastructure, the network, but we know this community has some serious talent for finding what we could have missed. So we want to lean into you and invite you. Stay tuned for more news, of course, but we will begin testing also from the technical side and the security side of our infrastructure, and we're more than excited to see what you guys find.
Thank you very much, Kanchi. That was fantastic, and a little insight for the developmentally minded among us. For the sake of our audience sleeping at night, I'm going to remove your scary quasi face from the stage. Just kidding, of course. That's great. I think Kanchi highlights that, to really and truly put a protocol out there that can handle and transact hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of tokens, and handle the interactions from thousands of operators, and also, of course, to maintain an infrastructure that people will genuinely rely on for their privacy. And we know increasingly in this age, it can be a matter of life and death. It requires us to have the utmost confidence in the infrastructure. It requires us to take the utmost care in building something that has a foundation to take on the load of potentially hundreds of thousands of users, remain secure, and remain essentially unhackable. And it's our work with what I consider the best of the best in implementing the complete set of recommendations of their security audit that puts us in this position today. And so be rest assured that this introduction of a new dashboard isn't just a shiny new interface after many months. It represents a new protocol that, as far as possible, we want to make sure is secure for its use. And so our confidence is something, it would be wrong for us to be confident and not extend it to our community to also to verify for themselves and see what they can break into. So do await our announcements in that sphere. It's an exciting and important part of that journey to making this live on every level. And hopefully something that is continually interesting for us as a community. The final point I'd like to make on this space kind of relates to the earlier point around adoption and around apps within privacy. I think that we are all early in the space, but I think people are starting to get the memo that we need privacy related apps that do a better job than VPNs, that actually can say they preserve your privacy and don't track and log everything we do. For those of you who are not aware, the Tor project are increasingly taking that stance and returning their focus to things like usable mobile apps, to features like choosing which apps you want to be private. And it to us, I think it highlights the importance of this technology, that we are digging around the right space, and really that we have the opportunity to be pioneers, because the actual market of products that can protect your privacy, that don't track you, is truly very small, and it's our chance here to be the leader. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here running an emulator. So this is not a real Android phone. It's on my computer. But I thought I'd like to show a little sneak peek of what is the app that we're building, that we truly believe will be that forefront, be that runner for mobile users, which in my opinion is the most accessible in the community. The Anyone bot, as it's called, or the Anyone Android VPN, is more than just a traditional VPN you just switch on and off. As I kind of mentioned earlier, it allows you to select the apps that you want to make private. It allows you to have a level of configurability that you haven't seen so far in our apps, including the ability to change your exit, choose your country insofar as it's available in the network, to do things like refresh your circuit for performance, and critically, of course, create the settings and level of privacy that matters to you. So this is more than just a concept. It's more than just some screenshots with the work of the incredibly talented Benjamin Earhart, whose ORBot app achieved millions and millions of downloads. We are really racing ahead to complement the Anyone iOS browser with this full-fledged Android VPN. It looks great. It gives you the features, and you can choose the apps. This is an important part, that you want to be private. So if you have some critical browsing to do, but you don't want your video calls to be affected performance-wise, you can go ahead and choose and either start those apps or just configure them to route their traffic through the network, which I think is a feature that VPNs are missing and I think could really resonate with people. Obviously, this being an emulator phone, there aren't too many apps to show, but hopefully it's an illustration of what's to come. And our community have been amazing with testing these things and helping us build so many different things in parallel. And I continually thank you all for the help that I'm sure will come as we test and release this as well. So another teaser for the community, another step towards mainstream adoption. We are here, as Anand said, to build things with real value that are independent of these market cycles and create something to truly last and make a difference to the internet. So that's all from me. Hopefully that was a set of good releases. We'll issue a summary thread as always. But keep on building, keep on fighting the fight, keep on spreading the word, because all of this truly makes a difference. And thank you very much for attending the State of Anyone.